All right, so you want to be a chemistry teacher, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Not many people can make the periodic table sound exciting. So kudos to you for wanting to inspire like the next generation of scientists.
It's true.
We've got a ton of info here from RoleCatcher,
Yeah.
which seems like the ultimate career toolkit,
Right.
and some fascinating insights into what it takes to be a chemistry teacher.
Absolutely.
Ready to unlock those secrets to landing your dream job.
Let's do it. I'm always excited to see what gems we can uncover.
Well, one thing that jumps out from RoleCatcher is their focus on what they call beating the bots.
Okay. Yeah.
Apparently, almost 99% of Fortune 500 companies use these applicant tracking systems.
99%. That's wild, right?
While, right, it's like you're basically playing a high-stakes game with a computer before your resume even reaches a human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the importance of understanding how these systems work.
Right.
And tailoring your application accordingly.
Right. It's like you're trying to outsmart the algorithm.
It is. And what's fascinating here is that RoleCatcher doesn't just tell you to stuff your resume with keywords.
Yeah.
They actually break down the science behind these ATS systems and provide tools to optimize your resume in a way that feels natural and highlights your genuine qualifications.
Okay, so they're not advocating for turning yourself into a robot just to appease the algorithm.
Not at all. They're all about showcasing your unique skills and experiences in a way that resonates with both the bots and the humans.
Okay.
For example, they have this really cool feature where you can upload your resume and a specific job description, and their AI will analyze both and suggest ways to improve the wording to better align with the role's requirements.
Whoa, it's like having your own personal resume editor, but powered by artificial intelligence. Do they give any specific examples of how this works?
They do. One example they gave involved a teacher who had listed classroom management as a skill, which is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But the AI suggested rephrasing it to cultivated a positive and productive learning environment through proactive classroom management techniques, demonstrating a deeper understanding of the skill and its impact.
That's brilliant. It's not just about saying you have a skill. It's about showing how you've used that skill effectively.
Yes.
It makes you stand out from the crowd.
Precisely. And that's just one example of how RoleCatcher combines cutting-edge technology with practical advice to help you navigate the competitive job market.
So it's about strategy, not just hoping to the best.
Right?
Speaking of strategy, let's shift gears a bit and talk about what it takes to actually be a chemistry teacher.
Okay.
I'm sure there's more to it than just knowing the difference between a covalent bond and an ionic bond.
You're telling me teaching is as much an art as it is a science.
And I bet RoleCatcher has some insights into the specific skills needed to excel in this field. What have they uncovered?
Well, one thing that surprised me is the emphasis they place on communication skills. You might think a chemistry teacher could just hide behind their beakers and test tubes.
Right.
But effective communication is crucial for conveying complex scientific concepts in a way that resonates with students.
It makes sense. You're not just rattling off facts. You're trying to spark a love of learning in young minds.
Right.
How do they suggest teachers develop those communication skills? It's not like everyone is born a captivating public speaker.
You're right. It's definitely a skill that can be developed over time.
Sure.
RoleCatcher suggests things like practicing your delivery, getting comfortable with public speaking, and even recording yourself to identify areas for improvement.
Those are great tips. And I bet those skills are useful beyond the classroom, too.
Absolutely. Strong communication is essential for success in any profession, but especially in a field like teaching, where you're constantly interacting with students, colleagues, and parents.
Okay, so communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
What other essential skills does RoleCatcher highlight for aspiring chemistry teachers?
One that really stood out to me was active listening. It's not enough to just be a good talker. You also need to be a good listener, especially when it comes to understanding your students' needs and challenges.
Okay, so give me an example of how a chemistry teacher might use active listening in the classroom.
Imagine a student is really struggling with a particular concept, like balancing chemical equations.
Okay.
Instead of just repeating the same explanation louder,
Right.
an active listener would pay close attention to the student's questions, try to understand where their confusion stems from,
Okay.
and then tailor their explanation accordingly.
So it's about being present, attentive, and responsive to the individual needs of each student.
Yes.
That takes serious skill. It's almost like being a detective trying to decipher their thought process and guide them towards understanding.
Precisely. And it's a skill that takes practice and empathy, but it can make all the difference in creating a supportive and effective learning environment.
I've started to realize that being a chemistry teacher is about so much more than just knowing the periodic table.
It's true.
It's about connecting with students,
Yeah.
understanding their challenges,
Right.
and finding creative ways to make learning both fun and impactful.
Exactly. It's a multifaceted role that requires a unique blend of scientific knowledge, pedagogical skills, and genuine passion for inspiring young minds.
Speaking of inspiring young minds, let's talk about the actual job market for chemistry teachers.
Okay.
Is it a field with a lot of opportunities? What does RoleCatcher have to say about the current landscape?
Well, according to their data, the employment outlook for chemistry teachers is actually quite promising. RoleCatcher's data shows the demand for qualified science teachers, especially in fields like chemistry, is steadily increasing.
Okay.
It's an exciting time to be entering the profession.
That's reassuring to hear. So it's not just about passion. There's actual job security there, too.
Right.
But they do mention that job availability can vary by location.
Great, they do, and this is where their platform really shines. They have this feature called the Career Compass that lets you explore different regions and even drill down to specific school districts to see the demand for chemistry teachers in those areas.
So you could potentially find a district that's actively seeking passionate educators like yourself.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It takes the guesswork out of the job search.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right fit, both for your career aspirations and your lifestyle.
Okay.
And speaking of finding the right fit, RoleCatcher dives into the nitty-gritty of crafting a standout resume and cover letter.
Good.
They actually analyze thousands of successful teacher resumes to see what works and what doesn't.
Okay, spill the tea. What did they find?
Yeah.
What makes a chemistry teacher's resume stand out from the crowd?
One surprising insight is that highlighting your soft skills is just as important as listing your technical qualifications.
Soft skills. You mean like being organized, a good communicator, that sort of thing?
Exactly. Things like adaptability, problem solving, and teamwork. They found that employers are increasingly looking for candidates who possess these essential skills as they're crucial for success in any work environment, not just the chemistry lab.
That makes a lot of sense. A teacher who can't communicate effectively or work well with others is going to face an uphill battle no matter how much they know about the periodic table.
Precisely. And what's interesting is that RoleCatcher doesn't just tell you to list these skills on your resume.
Yeah.
They give you concrete examples of how to weave them into your experience descriptions using action verbs and quantifiable results.
Can you give me an example? I'm always looking for ways to make my own resume pop.
They gave the example of a teacher who had volunteered at a science museum. Instead of just saying they assisted with demonstrations, they rephrased it to engaged over 100 visitors per day in interactive science demonstrations, fostering a passion for STEM learning.
Okay, that's a power move.
Yeah.
It shows initiative, passion, and a knack for communicating complex concepts in an engaging way. It's not just a bullet point, it's a story.
Exactly. And that's what makes a resume stand out. It's about telling your unique story in a way that captures the attention of potential employers and makes them want to learn more about you.
So you've wowed them with your resume, they've seen your passion for chemistry and your killer soft skills. Now comes the moment of truth, the interview. What kind of curveballs can aspiring chemistry teachers expect in an interview? And more importantly, how does RoleCatcher suggest they prepare?
Well, the interview is where you get to bring all those skills and experiences to life and really showcase your passion for teaching.
Okay.
RoleCatcher offers a treasure trove of resources for this stage, including a database of over 120,000 interview questions.
120,000 questions. That's a lot of questions. They must cover every possible scenario. What kind of questions can someone expect for chemistry teacher role specifically?
Well, of course, there are the standard ones like tell me about yourself and why do you want to be a teacher? But they also have a whole section dedicated to subject-specific questions. Like, how would you explain the concept of molarity to a student who's struggling with math? Or, describe a time you had to adapt your teaching style to meet the needs of a diverse group of learners.
Okay, those are pretty specific. It's not just about knowing your chemistry. It's about being able to apply your knowledge in real-world classroom scenarios.
Yeah.
How does RoleCatcher suggest people prepare for those kinds of curveball questions?
They actually recommend practicing something called the STAR method,
Okay.
situation, task, action, result.
Okay.
It's a framework for structuring your answers in a clear, concise, and compelling way.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this STAR method. How does it work in practice?
So let's say the interviewer asks you to describe a time you failed and what you learned from it.
Okay.
Instead of rambling or getting flustered, you would use the STAR method to provide a structured and insightful response.
Okay.
First, you describe the specific situation, the S. Then outline the task at hand, the T. Next, you'd explain the actions you took to address the situation, the A. And finally, you describe the outcome and what you learned from the experience, the R.
That's brilliant. It gives you a roadmap for answering even the toughest questions in a way that showcases your problem-solving skills, your ability to learn from your mistakes, and your overall suitability for the role. It's like a secret weapon for job interviews.
Exactly. And the best part is the more you practice the STAR method, the more natural it becomes.
So it's about being prepared, structured, and ready to showcase your skills and experience in a confident and compelling way.
Precisely. And it's not just about the content of your answers, it's also about your delivery. RoleCatcher emphasizes the importance of nonverbal communication, like maintaining eye contact, using open body language, and projecting enthusiasm.
It's all about making a good first impression. But I have to admit, as much as I love the idea of being a chemistry teacher, the thought of actually managing a classroom full of teenagers, especially during those volatile lab experiments, is a little intimidating.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart, but that's what makes the job so rewarding.
Yeah.
And speaking of rewards, RoleCatcher doesn't shy away from the realities of the profession.
They delve into the day-to-day joys and challenges of being a chemistry teacher.
They do, and they've gathered some fascinating insights from actual chemistry teachers, providing a real-world glimpse into the profession.
Okay, so no more sugarcoating. Hit me with the good, the bad, and the potentially explosive.
Well, one thing that consistently came up was the incredible sense of fulfillment that chemistry teachers experience.
Yeah.
Knowing they're shaping young minds, sparking a love of science, that's a powerful motivator.
I can imagine. It's one thing to work in a lab, but it's another thing entirely to inspire the next generation of scientists and innovators.
Yeah.
Did they share any specific stories? I'm a sucker for a good classroom anecdote.
They did. One teacher recounted how a student who had been struggling all semester with a particular concept suddenly had a breakthrough during a lab experiment.
Wow.
The look on that student's face, the sense of accomplishment, the teacher said it made all the long hours in grading worth it.
Wow, that's what it's all about. Those aha moments make all the difference.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's not always sunshine and breakthroughs. What about the challenges? RoleCatcher doesn't shy away from those, do they?
Not at all. They actually dedicate a whole section to addressing the common misconceptions about the teaching profession, like the idea that teachers have summers off or that it's a cushy 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most teachers would beg to differ on those points. So what are some of the less glamorous realities that RoleCatcher highlights?
Well, one thing that came up repeatedly was the sheer amount of paperwork and administrative tasks that teachers have to juggle.
Okay.
Grading assignments, writing lesson plans, creating assessments, attending meetings, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it sounds like it takes a master multitasker to handle all that.
It does. And then, of course, there's the ever-present challenge of classroom management. Keeping a room full of teenagers engaged and on task, especially during something as potentially chaotic as a chemistry experiment, is no easy feat.
I bet. Teenagers can be a handful even without Bunsen burners and beakers thrown into the mix.
Absolutely. But the chemistry teachers interviewed by RoleCatcher stressed that the rewards far outweigh the challenges.
Yeah.
They genuinely love what they do, and they wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's inspiring to hear. It takes a special kind of person to dedicate their lives to educating others, especially during those formative teenage years.
It does. And speaking of dedication, RoleCatcher emphasizes that becoming a successful chemistry teacher is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It requires continuous learning and professional development.
Okay, so it's not like you just learn the periodic table once, you're good to go for the rest of your career.
Not quite. Chemistry is a constantly evolving field with near discoveries and technologies emerging all the time.
Okay.
RoleCatcher stresses the importance of staying up to date on the latest research, attending conferences, and even collaborating with other educators to share best practices.
So it's a lifelong pursuit of knowledge, which honestly sounds pretty exciting.
It is, and it's one of the things that makes a career in education so rewarding.
Yeah.
You're constantly learning, growing, and adapting.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We've gone from beating the bots to acing those interviews, and now we've really gotten a feel for the incredible dedication and passion that chemistry teachers bring to the classroom every day.
It's been quite a journey. We've explored the practicalities of the job search, the essential skills and knowledge needed to succeed, and the profound impact that chemistry teachers have on their students' lives.
I think it's safe to say that RoleCatcher has lived up to its reputation as the ultimate career toolkit.
Absolutely. It's not just about finding a job, it's about empowering individuals to take control of their careers and achieve their full potential.
And for anyone out there who's even remotely interested in a career in STEM education, I highly recommend checking out RoleCatcher.
Yes,
It's an invaluable resource.
I second that. It's clear they've put a lot of thought and expertise into creating a platform that truly supports individuals throughout their entire career journey.
Well said. And on that note, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of chemistry teachers and the incredible resources offered by RoleCatcher. We hope you found it informative, inspiring, and maybe even a little bit life-changing.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those Bunsen burners burning bright.
And remember, the world needs more passionate and dedicated educators like chemistry teachers. Go out there and make a difference.